episode 6 of Boomer Bust NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. It's 30 days away from the start of the NFL season. We're now into pre-season and we've got plenty of news to come. Tonight, for the first time since the show began, it's just the two of us, joined by Shug, as ever, who is in the middle of somewhere in his car, but he never lets me down. Shug, where are you?
I'm actually at a car park at a hospital. Nothing to be alarmed about, just the easiest place to stop. So I just had a tough schedule today, so didn't want to miss out on this. So it was the closest place I could stop. Don't worry, plenty of spaces if MD genuinely needs to go to the hospital, so that's where I am.
He's lying. For anyone that's not watching, he's actually parked in the A&E bit that the ambulance pulls in at. He's quite selfish, but he's not letting me down, so I'm delighted with that. But now, how are you, General? All right?
All good, mate. All good. Excited for the start of the season. Only, as you said, not long to go now, so it's really getting there. So, all good, mate.
It's heating up, and we've got our own draft coming up 2nd of September. We're all getting together and we're drafting, so yeah.
Yep.
For any of the regulars that's been watching or listening, we done our mock draft on Monday there, and it's been good. It's probably our most watched or listened to show since we started. And I actually think, despite all the technical issues, and it probably didn't pan out like as smooth in the video as what we'd hoped, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I don't know what you think about that, Shug.
Oh, definitely. It just gives you that, as you said, it gives you that taste. It makes you just look forward to a proper draft.
Yeah, did it make you change your mind on anything, the way you're going to go about it?
I did probably. It made me think, it started to make me think of strategy. Possibly, in a way, it can make you overthink because you're then thinking about who everybody else is going to take. And also it being live was a bit strange because you felt as if you had to. I know I had a wee bit of carry on in it, but you feel as if you need to justify every pick. Whereas when you're just doing it, to yourself, you feel as if you can just, go with your gut instinct, if you know what I mean. So it's a wee bit more. It was a wee bit more challenging, although it wasn't obviously the real draft.
Yeah, like you say, it gives you a bit of a taste for it. Being live, like you're put on the spot like you would be when you're there with the guys, and with it being myself, Roberto and Martin there, you do feel like it is a wee bit real and it's coming up to it. But
yeah,
what was your strategy? Was it just draft as many Dolphins as you could?
Pretty much, mate. I think one thing that could let me down, it could either win me everything or lose me everything, is that I'm just hell-bent on getting the cheetah. So I think rather than actually looking at my first pick, I was just making a beeline for the cheetah, getting him in my team. And then I kind of looked at that after it, just tried to strengthen the wide receivers and running backs early doors, and the team worked out all right. But it's Dolphin heavy in there.
Yeah, you actually got 40% of the vote when we done the poll on Instagram, which is quite good. I don't know how your dad's phone bill's looking, but sorry, his data is looking, should I say, on his phone. But now I'm looking here, you drafted Dak Prescott, Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Dalton Schultz, who I referred to as Dawson Knox. For some reason, I'm getting mixed up with the two of them. Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, Harrison Butker, Dallas Cowboys defense, Devin Singletary, Chase Edmonds, Russell Gage, Michael Gallup, and Jarvis Landry. I think that's quite a solid team. I know you took a slagging in the chat, but I think that, despite it being all the Dolphins, I think it's quite a solid team.
No, I think I was quite happy with it, to be fair. As you said, the way these drafts go, I think everybody usually comes away saying they've got a fairly strong team. You look across the board, just the way it works, and the way we kind of go through it, you always end up with the next best one, and we've all kind of similar in the terms we go for wide receivers, running backs early. So, reasonably happy with that.
Yeah, like you said, they're the next best one. Sometimes you go in with a clear picture of first round, I'll draft running back, second round running back, third round, maybe wide receiver, see who's there at running back. But when I done that mock draft, it was kind of like, I've drafted a decent running back in the first round in Austin Eckler, who was a superstar last year, and then Deebo Samuel fell to me in the second round, and it was just best player available at that time that I couldn't pass up, because I did have in my head, if there's a chance of me getting him, I'm going to do it, because I know how successful it was for me last year, and I was delighted to get it. But I think me and you just get a bit of a slagging because Martin puts all the work in. He's a fountain of knowledge when it comes to these things, but he'd put a create a monster to sleep.
I think that's what got me. I was after him most of the time. When it was, I was either after him before him. If you catch me going through the draft, so it was a case of before I had a pick, I was sitting listening to him go through about 5 players, tell me like what diet they're on, tell me like who their granddad was and all that. And then by the time it got to me, I was just like, oh, I'll just pick somebody to get this moving quicker. So it was a bit of a disadvantage going after him because I was half sleeping for most of my picks. Nah, but in fairness, he has got a lot of knowledge, and it was actually good to hear it because then you can pick up wee things and sort of wee tips on players. And I know he's got no championships, but he obviously knows the game.
He is desperate. He's desperate to jump on that bandwagon, and that was
100%.
good. Roberto was excellent as well. He's got plenty of knowledge when it comes to the NFL. He's enthusiastic about it, and he's so. I'm trying to think the best way to put it. Like Drew touched on last week, it becomes an obsession. Roberto's like that. He's right in about it. He lives and breathes it, and that's good. That's what it's all about. It's a good laugh amongst friends, and although it is very competitive, it's good fun at the end of the day as well. So, I'm really looking forward to kicking on. And talking about Roberto there, his team, the Bears, they were dealt a bit of a blow today with the news that N'Keal Harry is going to be out till probably around about mid-season, considering the injury. He underwent tightrope surgery, which when I first read it, I started to scratch my head and had to Google what it is. So it's a surgery on a high ankle sprain, and he should be out for around about 8 weeks. So given that the season's not started yet, it'll probably take about 4 weeks into the season to come back. And then with things like high ankle sprains, you can't really come back too early from them, can you?
Yeah, I think I said a few weeks ago, I don't really think the Bears will have a great season, and I think they've had a few kind of issues and stuff in the training camp. So this is another big blow for them. Again, as you said, it's not an injury. It's certainly doesn't sound a straightforward surgery and recovery, so not good.
Yeah, tightrope surgery. And you look at the Bears, would you say that they're performing a balancing act now?
I would say this is turning into a circus.
At least they won't have Matt Nagy acting the clown this season. There's going to be people switch off at this point. So before you do, please like and subscribe, especially on YouTube where things have been going better than we expected. So if you want to switch off, go for it now, but at least subscribe.
Only show in town.
We are the only show in town. But no, when we look at the impact, when N'Keal Harry went there, it really became fantasy relevant, and a lot of folk would have been changing their draft strategy slightly towards the later rounds, thinking that there is a chance he could have been wide receiver 1 there. But now with this news that's happened, the door's wide open for Darnell Mooney to just skyrocket and be basically the only target there, because we know how good he can be.
Yeah, 100%. But I said it's a blow, but like in this sport, when a blow comes about, it's an opportunity for somebody. So that's exactly what it is for him.
Yeah, it's got to be the next guy up, but I agree with you. I can't see the Bears doing too much this year. They've not been good for a while. It's a new regime there. Let's just wait and see how Justin Fields gets on there. He's good enough, but I've always had a soft spot for the Bears, having been in, seen them live, and I know you do too.
Yeah. It's a team I like. Obviously, I stayed quite near to Chicago and just loved the place, loved the stadium and everything. So it is a team I want to see do well, but I don't see it. I think from kind of reading up a bit on them, I think they will be building, and I think they can. They've got a lot of financial. They've got a lot of room to manoeuvre in the next couple of years, I think I was reading. So I don't think anything this year, but they're going to look to build. But obviously, that's another blow.
Did you go to Soldier Field when you were there?
I didn't go to an NFL game. I went to see USA versus Brazil in a friendly.
What? Like soccer, I take it?
Aye, soccer, aye. It was
soccer.
like...
God, we're going to get slagged.
I know. What a game it was as well. 4-3 to Brazil, I think it was.
Right.
But I never actually made it for an NFL game. That was the only game I made it to that stadium.
Did they tailgate for day games as well?
Aye, it was. It was loads of... the side we went in was loads of South Americans, loads of Brazilians out there tailgating, and then obviously the Americans as well. So it was a good atmosphere and stuff, and it was a friendly, but they brought all the big players. But I just thought, what a stadium!
Oh, it's unbelievable. I'd love to
Incredible.
see
Aye.
something done like that over here where you've got the old stadium and they can keep the tradition, but
Yeah.
like we've touched on, I think it was one of the previous pods you were saying, they put that sort of super stadium in the middle of it, but crazily enough, it looks like they're going to move away from there.
That's strange. I just think it's got everything. As you said, usually you've got American stadiums are always tremendous, but some of them have got that kind of just at the wrapper kind of plasticky feel to them. Just like you don't feel history. Like Soldier Field's the one that's different from that.
Yeah, it's got an aura.
That history behind it, but it's still modern. It's still I walked through it and didn't think there was anything that was needing upgraded or anything. It was still well ahead of its time.
I just like the fact it was like slap bang right next to the city.
Yeah,
And then the walk up to it, like you're going past, is it the art museum or something like that? And it's got the big pillars out the front. And then when you're inside, just the blend of old and new, just the whole setup was unbelievable. It was one hell of an experience. I was lucky enough to see a Thursday night football game there, so it was prime time. And yeah, it was brilliant.
I mean, no, as you're right, class right in the middle of the city. I mean, I know you did as well. I went to a couple of Chicago Bulls games, but that's out with the city. It's in the south side, and it's a bit of a rougher area and stuff like that. It's like you're much better position Soldier Field's in. It's, as you said, right in the middle of everything, and unbelievable city.
Yeah, oh, I'd love to go back. It is an unbelievable place. I just hope the Bears do well, but I can't see it being this year. Absolutely
Nah,
not. I'm not going to go out my way to draft any Bears players. If I'm really struggling, maybe running back. I liked Khalil Herbert last year, although he was running back too and he felt in for me once well. But we wait and see. We're taken
yeah,
by surprise, and we'll come to that later on in the show. But other news around the NFL is someone that's very fantasy relevant. Kareem Hunt has asked to be traded away from the Cleveland Browns. What sort of impact do you think that would make in his fantasy value?
I think he's a player I've went for in the past. I don't think I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think this is another one of these sagas that just will go on. I don't think there's been any news. I think it's just that he's just requested, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I read a wee bit about that it's been declined that they want him to stay. Chubb's made a appeal for him to stay as well. So, to be honest, I don't see it going anywhere. I think he'll stay where he is. I don't know what you think on that.
I think the only way I could see him going anywhere, I know his deal expires in a year's time, so he's probably trying to push at the moment to get that big
Yeah,
contract, considering that running backs get injured so easily and it's a short career at that position. That's the way he's trying to angle it. If I can't get a contract here, then I'll get it elsewhere. But it
yeah,
doesn't look like they're going to budge on any of them. But come the start of the season, I think if a team, their RB1 gets injured, then I think that's when you'll look to see things moving because teams are aware that he wants away and that we know from his time at Kansas City that he was an unbelievable running back and he can play
yeah,
lights out football when he wants. But last season, toiled with injuries a wee bit, sits in behind Nick Chubb. Don't get me wrong, very good fantasy player. His ADP at the moment for this year's drafting is sitting at number 80, which is I think is quite fair. And a 12-team league, you're probably going to pick him up around late 5th, early 6th, 10-team
yeah.
league, 8th round. I think that's a good pickup.
Yeah, I think his fantasy value stays, but I think it possibly increases. I mean, depending on how the situation goes, but I think if he stays, I think he'll be determined to earn either that next contract or if he goes, he'll play a more significant part in wherever he goes. It'll be the right move for him. We might just get the head down and just end up doing well. So I think either way, I think it's going to push his value up.
Yeah, I'm looking, like you say, when he goes there, if he did go, you think he would want to go back into an RB1 role where
Yeah,
he's the number one guy. And I look at places like even Kansas City, it wouldn't shock me if he went back there. I still don't think they've had a running back as good as him since he left. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, everyone spoke about him that he was going to be the next big thing at Kansas City, and he's really not done it considering how many snaps and targets he had. I look around the league as well, even the Bucks, the state that Leonard Fournette came back in. Maybe there's an opportunity there. Tom Brady seems to like these guys that have been round the block and proven it and deserve another chance.
yeah. I don't think any team has a desperate need for somebody, but you're right. As things develop, as what you've said's kind of happened, there might be those opportunities come up. I don't think there's any desperation for him. As you said, like Fournette, you see how that kind of goes in the next few weeks. As you said, it could be that he gets a move, but I just don't see it. I just think he'll stay. I think it's terrible timing as well. The team will be thinking on that side. Well, obviously, everything that they've got to deal with, it's awful timing. So I think he's just pushing his luck a wee bit in terms of trying to get that big contract. But I just don't see it going anywhere. I think there'll be a resolution and he'll stay.
Yeah, if he did go, then if you're drafting, I think Nick Chubb goes in the first round. It changes nothing for Nick Chubb in terms of fantasy value and relevance. He's always going to go in the top 10 picks in every draft. But I think what does change if he does go, Ernest Johnson has to be picked up in every draft. I think he done well for folk last year when I think Chubb and Hunt were out at the same time. I think there was a game he got like 3 touchdowns and I actually dropped him to my bench. I could not believe it. But no, that's where I would be looking if Hunt went at Ernest Johnson. The only other places I can see him landing would maybe be the Cardinals with Chase Edmonds going to your Dolphins, maybe the Eagles with Miles Sanders not really cutting it the past 2 seasons. Somewhere like that. But like we said, unless it's an injury, I don't think people are going to push the boat out to go and get him.
Exactly.
Desperation. But no, from one running back to another, J.K. Dobbins came off the PUP list this week, and it looks like he's on course for week 1. This guy is good, and I think he now becomes extremely fantasy relevant, knowing that he's going straight into the fold. Would you be looking to draft him?
Possibly. I think you're right. I think it's a huge boost for him, and I think he's worth a punt, to be fair. Explosive running back, and the only thing is obviously coming back from any sort of injury. I think was it a knee injury he had?
It was an ACL clearing the last game of pre-season last season.
So you never know. Yeah, it's always a risk, but he's definitely, up there as a, worth having a punt on. And I said, come out of nowhere. We've been discussing running backs. He's not really popped up at all because obviously he's been injured, but he's definitely relevant now and definitely one I'd consider.
Yeah, his ADP's 52. Like, considering he's higher than Kareem Hunt, I get that because he's an RB1 and Hunt's an RB2. But yeah, it would be a punt. For me, it'd be a punt. He's just back from an ACL tear. It looks like he'll just make it for the start of the season. Other reasons being Lamar Jackson loves to run the ball.
Yep.
John Harbaugh at the Ravens, he likes to operate a running back by committee as well. You've also got the likes of Gus Edwards, who might feature towards maybe the latter half of the season. He's just come back for an ACL injury as well. I'd probably put him top 20, top 25 running backs. Wouldn't break the top 10 for me.
It depends on your strategy as well, because as we said, sometimes you go heavy in your wide receivers. You see opportunities when you're drafting to take in wide receivers. So by the time you go back to running backs, a lot of the top ones are taken. So in that next tier or two, he's worth a punt, if you know what I mean. Those guys go quickly at the top. So depending on how your strategy goes, you could end up with some really strong wide receivers and then come back and pick up him.
100%, I agree with you. And it was kind of like when we done the mock draft on Monday, and I had already drafted Deebo Samuel, and then all of a sudden Eli Mitchell lands at me, who's going to be RB1. I think I picked him up in the 5th or 6th round, which I couldn't quite believe. I think you guys missed the boat on him a wee bit and just sort of skimmed past him. But he's going to be RB1 at the 49ers. I know folk think it's going to be a running back by committee there. I don't. I think Mitchell's going to see a lot of it. And like J.K. Dobbins here, if he falls to you, that sort of point in your draft where you're already set with your top tier running backs, you're already set with your wide receivers, then why not take a chance on him, because he still becomes tradable.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, it's worth a go. But sticking with the Ravens, we've seen Justin Tucker get a new contract this week. Once again, keeps him as the highest paid kicker of all time. Shug, this guy's good, isn't he?
Yep, he is. And it's one of those ones as well in fantasy football. It's a position we overlook a lot in previous years, but then they do pick you up a good few points.
That's it. Having a consistent or a clutch kicker, as we like to call him, in fantasy is good. know the past couple of years, I had, 2 years ago, Young Wei Koo,
Yep.
who was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I knew every time they got a conversion or a field goal, he was scoring points for me. I don't know, are you in agreement with me here that you wouldn't go and draft a kicker high up because nobody really sees much relevance in drafting them high up, but if you can get one of these top tier sort of Justin Tucker type kickers, do you?
It's one of those ones. I think you see how the draft falls. So if you've already got pretty much your wide receivers and your running backs sorted, you could either sort of beef up the squad or you go and get a kicker quite early. I'm not talking mega early, but you just see it, and sometimes that opportunity comes up where you get a good kicker. So I think you obviously try and get the best you can on there. It's not a priority, but sometimes just the way the draft works out, you can be quite lucky to end up getting an opportunity to get one of the top ones in.
Yeah, of course, not mega important. You're going to have 32 kickers there. Not all of them are going to be solid. It's one of the cutthroat positions where if you're missing, you're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you never fancied like giving it a go to see how good you'd be?
What is it? No, I've never actually tried it. I think I told you before, a couple of boys I went to uni with, one particular, Lyle, he had some left foot on him, and so he was on sort of a soccer scholarship, and the American football team also asked him to kick, and apparently his kicking was, they showed him the technique, and he didn't like the technique. He just asked, "Can I just boot it?" And they were like, "Aye, go for it." And he was meant to be unreal at it, just running up and kicking it like we'd kick a football.
Right.
So I don't know why he never pursued it, but I think we could all have a decent go at it. See if you had a good go. I think football players could easily change into kickers.
It's funny because like me and you have played like football as in soccer for any Americans listening for all our life, and we're like, that looks so easy, but given that there's 60, 70,000 people watching you, there's 2 seconds on the clock, you've got guys coming towards you that are like 200 plus pounds that can move at the speed of light. It's a wee bit different from what you would think in your head, that just kick a ball like for the halfway line all the way over the post.
It seems like a dream job, doesn't it? You just stroll on one kick a ball and then you go off, you're the hero or whatever, but as you said, all the factors and the pressure with some of the kicks, some of the distances you've got to make, can't be easy.
It's a clutch position. In fact, we've got actually at the Giants, we've now got Graham Gano, who I think he's spent some time living in Stirling over here.
Right.
And we've now got the Scottish Hammer as the punter. Jamie Gillen, who's from Inverness, actually. So, there you go. Our kick team, fully Scottish. I don't know about fully Scottish, but yeah, there's earmarks there.
We should do it at some point. We should do a podcast challenge.
Oh my God, now we're talking. This would be good content. We could get people to vote on. I don't know. I just like votes.
You love a vote?
No, we definitely should. Obviously, things on YouTube are going all right, so something like that would be good fun. That just ball at the halfway line, launch it. I think there's a few rugby posts near us, so we could try it with something like that. But
let's do it.
That'd be some laugh. Martin would get injured. I don't think we could invite Martin.
Probably.
Toasty wouldn't turn up. I'm trying to think. Roberto would be decent. He's got a good right peg on him.
Aye.
Drew hits by kicks, but he's got a bit of a club foot.
Aye, that's hitting the corner flag, isn't it?
I don't even know if it's making the 18-yard box.
Aye.
Anyway, back to fantasy relevance of kickers. Like, what sort of kickers do you like going into this year?
I usually go for what I would always go for Koo or the fish.
The fish? Who's
the fish? Can you tell me?
Who is the fish?
Tyler Bass. Nah, I think I usually pick him up. Again, I think the Bills are going to have a good season, so I think you'll profit from that. I think he'll be a decent kicker. So it's usually either Koo or him I usually go for.
Yeah, I've got them on my list as well. Evan McPherson for me last year was outstanding for the Bengals. there's just something about Evan McPherson that I really like.
Yeah.
Like when they were in the Super Bowl and it was Dr. Dre halftime show and he's out watching it while everybody else is inside. Imagine that over here, something like that happened over there. Here,
Aye.
the press would slaughter you. You wouldn't be able to show
Oh,
your face again, especially that they lost. I know it wasn't his fault, but especially that they lost.
that's see what you're saying about the press slotting. I mean, we go back to like Kareem Hunt and MD that sort of downs tools or demands a track. Here it doesn't happen as often with football because they know that if they go, it's usually curtains if they do that here
Yeah,
because they know the abuse they're going to get off their own fans. The press will hammer them. See, over in America, it seems like they're just looking at it for number one. Like they could stroll back into the team and nobody will bat an eyelid.
definitely. He's turned up to training. He is back at training, so it's not as bad as not turning up. But I get your point that when
I
they
didn't mean
don't
I didn't
turn
mean
up,
to down tools, but you know what I mean. Like they can make a big fuss about leaving and all that, and then you could see them like the next week and everything's fine because they've
yeah,
got the money. And over here, you'd get slaughtered for that. You get put hands booing you. Over there, they kind of get that is they get the kind of characters that come with the game.
yeah. I don't know if me like you've spent time in America and seen what American sports is like. I try and see it from both sides. That here's the differences, and I try and see it down the middle. And I think they're right to kind of back them because the sense that although it is an entertainment business, these guys are putting their bodies in the line, and especially running backs where your career could be over in the
Yeah,
blink of an eye. You've got to make as much money as you can.
exactly. And I think it's usually the sort of American athletes' attitude. They back themselves as well. They've got confidence. Like here, people are a bit more sheepish and a bit more humble. Like athletes over there will just say, "No, I'm the main man. I'm worth that money." Like they've just got
Yeah,
that confidence about them, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. It's just a different. I don't want to say a different culture because we've got guys like that over here, but you know what I mean. It's just a different sort of lifestyle, isn't it? It's a different sort of approach to things.
I know. I was watching Debo Samuel's interview last week after, I don't know if it's an interview or a press conference anyway, he was speaking last week after his contract extension and they were just saying to him, what do you love? And he's just like, apart from the money, I love being at the 49ers.
They make no. Just I think American fans get it. They understand that people are in the sport to get paid. Like they understand that it's business for them. Like they
Yeah,
understand. I don't think there's the same loyalties to teams or anything over there. It's they're quite. I like how they're quite upfront about it.
and the thing is, it's kind of like how it translates from guys like me and you who are out working and we're trying to earn money to support our families and pay the bills. And these guys are the same. Folk have got to understand that. If you came and offered me that sort of money, I'd jump in a heartbeat.
See, I quite like the honesty. I quite like the honesty. It's like see over here we had when that European Super League was coming up. It was like, oh, we want to move in because it'll be a standard of football and it'll be entertaining and all that. I'd rather just we're honest. This is going to make us a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's the moral high ground that folk take. Like, how dare they move away for all that money? And it's like, come on, look at the league you're in and the money that you're making. But once
Exactly.
again, I could see that from both sides because I can see how the business side of the NFL works. And it works that well that I think those figures came out last week that on average, each team in the NFL is worth on average $4 billion.
Right now.
And that just shows you the difference. So that's why they wanted to go into a league like the NFL, where there's no relegation. The biggest teams are playing each other, and I get why they try to do it. I know folk would be annoyed at me talking about it like that, but I totally get it. I see it from both sides.
Aye, exactly.
But now, talking about the super teams to dark horses, is there anyone you can see this year? Kind of like the Cincinnati Bengals last year, going all the way to the Super Bowl. Nobody really seen that coming. I know
No.
Burrows was coming back at the time from an ACL injury. They had Jamar Chase, who was a rookie, and you look at guys like Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins that had their breakthrough years last year, and they just emerged as an unbelievable team. Could we see somebody else being like that this year?
I was kind of toying with this because a few weeks ago I kind of said I saw the Dolphins only making the first round of playoffs, maybe just doing all right. But I'm going to go with them in the dark horse. Picked them well in the draft. I think that they could do really well. Been thinking about it the last few weeks, and I just think that they could have a really good season. I think the other contenders I'd say are probably the Saints and the Vikings, but Dolphins for me, probably, I know they're not complete dark horse because they have made some good moves and they have brought in the likes of Hill, but it would be some story for them to go and really challenge this year. And I just think there is a chance they could.
Absolutely is a chance. I feel like we talk about the Dolphins all the time, but they are blockbuster just now. They're very intriguing in terms of Tua's make or break year, Tyreek Hill now being there. Just everything that surrounds them is so intriguing. I do want them to do well, and I agree with you. I had the Dolphins down in my sheet as potential dark horses. I think there's pressure though. There definitely is pressure.
I think it could go either way with the Dolphins, couldn't it? Could be. I think a fairly tough schedule as well, so could go either way. But I've just got him down as my dark horse. I think why not?
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know if you could class them as a dark horse, but they've not done anything in a long time. But it looks like the Chargers are going to be that team that's on the periphery as well. Justin Herbert at quarterback, his link up with Keenan Allen's unbelievable. I seen when we spoke about in the mock draft when we were talking about Mahomes and Juju Smith-Schuster. I think it was Roberto spoke about it, saying take them as a stack. It worked for Drew last year with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. I know Tony liked it with Mahomes when he was with Hill, and you took it as well with Tyreek Hill and Tua for this coming season.
Yeah.
But when I look at the Chargers, I think a very good stack this year would be Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. Very good combination. I think Keenan Allen has always been a very good wide receiver. He's a massive red zone target for the Chargers. And Justin Herbert this season is going to be a top-tier quarterback. In fantasy, you could be looking at top 3 quarterback for Justin Herbert. When you look around the side as well, defence, you've got Bosa already there. They're strong everywhere all over the field. There's not been much noise coming out of them, depending on things like injuries, etc. Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, we could be here all day, but to class them as a dark horse, I'm not so sure. I've only labelled them saying that because they've not really done anything in years, but I'd be shocked if they weren't there or thereabouts. The only other one I've got here, and I think I went for the shock factor with this one, the Patriots. Why not?
I don't see it, to be honest. Not really heard much noise coming out of them pre-season, to be honest, the training camp, but I don't see them really having the quality to challenge, to be honest. Do you think they will?
I think they will, although I'm not going to back them because Bill Belichick said last week that he hates fantasy football and he doesn't care. Like I'm not having that. If I met him, we'd be having words because that's just not funny. You try to tell me that guy's not going to play fantasy when he hangs the sleeveless hoodie up?
Oh, 100%.
But nah, there's just something I like about the Patriots. I know a lot of people don't like the Patriots, but this year, the way Belichick spoke about Mac Jones coming back and saying there's been a dramatic improvement, I thought he had a very good rookie season last year. You look at what he's got round about him, Damian Harris, Devontae Parker, Ramondre Stevenson, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, all these guys I wouldn't have any job drafting late on. I know I'm not a big fan of drafting the Patriots players, but in terms of fantasy, they like to move it around the field, they like to share it about, so that's why I say these sort of guys, they're all viable weapons. The likes of as well, Bill Belichick, you can never count him out. He's always done well. I think last year they lost their first 9 games and then won every game after that. They went on a real winning streak last year, so I think the Patriots are going to do well. They'll be there or thereabouts, and if they're up there, then Belichick's got the experience to do it. After rhyming off all the players as well, who actually just broke that James White, who's retired, the 3-time Super Bowl winner, the only guy to ever score a walk-off touchdown at the Patriots. So there's one weapon down now, unfortunately.
Nah, I personally don't see it from them, but there's a reason why we're calling them dark horses. Nobody can really predict. It's you can always look for wee gems and where you think might work out for them. So I don't see them having a great season. I don't see them being too bad, but I can't see it. But as you said, it's a guessing game when you go to dark horses.
It is. It really is. But moving on, last wee bit, Shug, it's been a quick show. There's been plenty of news, just the two of us, mate. So we always end with a wee bit of fun. So I think you came up with this one, didn't you?
Yep. The crossovers. We've seen NFL stars appearing in TV shows or movies.
Yeah.
Just some of your favourite ones.
I take it this is off the back of last week, like the longest yard.
Aye, any for you kind of stand out?
There is obviously the most famous one would be Dan Marino in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
I remember we were out, and I don't know why, but Dan Marino appeared on the screen in a nightclub we were in. We were all going, Dan Marino.
I can remember the story about it. So we were in campus going to watch the Super Bowl, and Dan Marino came up on the screen, and there was a girl standing behind us, no with us to clarify that, and she, in some weird accent, she went, "Is that David Hasselhoff?" So that's always reminds me of Dan Marino.
I was actually just about to say Ace Ventura made Dan Marino a household name. I know that'll come as a shock to a lot of folk who are like lifers with the NFL. I'll be honest, I really didn't get into it to maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So I knew Dan Marino from through Ace Ventura. So for me, that put him in the map. Have you got any?
I enjoyed, I think it was Ted. I think it was 2, maybe 1. I think it was 2 with Tom Brady in there.
Right, okay.
When they snuck into his house. Do you remember that one?
I don't really. I've only ever seen it once, and it was a while ago.
I'm not saying what they were trying to steal, but they snuck into Tom Brady's. But if you ever get a chance, watch Ted 2. It's fun.
Now, I've got Tom Brady here as well. I've got him when he appeared in Entourage.
Right.
Remember he was playing golf, Mark Wahlberg?
Aye.
There's a good story behind it, and that's the reason I put it here, right? The guy who made Entourage, and I think he's a producer as well, Doug Ellen, he originally had Eli Manning lined up for the show. And I think it's become quite famous because it snowballed into the fact that Doug Ellen's side of the story was Doug Ellen's a massive Giants fan, by the way. He's from New York, and he claims that Eli Manning approached him and said, "I love Entourage. I'd love to appear on it. You guys have guest stars all the time, and I'd love to be a part of it." And he was like, "Right, here we go. Dream come true. The 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback of the New York Giants wants to appear on my show." So he wrote up a script around Eli Manning, sent it out to him, and he completely blanked him.
Oh, really?
Never heard back from him. And it was actually Mark Wahlberg that reached out to Tom Brady to say, "Look, could you come and do the show?" This was in 2009, and then obviously Brady goes on to win another 4 Super Bowls, so it worked out well having Brady over Eli Manning, I think.
See, the crossovers, I like the ones when it's like, not so much in a movie or anything, but see when you see like, I think Tom Brady met Ronaldo recently.
Yeah.
On the pitch, I love seeing pictures like that. It's like the greatest in different sports talking. I would just love to hear the conversation. Don't get me wrong, if you probably heard it, probably the most boring conversation all time.
No,
but I like to think of what they go through.
No, I'm sure there was a thing that came out about that. Remember when there was a whole photo shoot, they're standing chatting after the game?
Yep.
I'm sure this was before Brady had announced that he was coming out of retirement, because remember there was the whole talk that he was over there talking to the Glazers, and I'm sure Ronaldo said something to him like, "Is that you finished?" And his reply was, "We'll see." Because everyone thought he was retired at the time, and then literally that week after, he announced that he'd come out of retirement and he was going back to the Bucks.
Brilliant.
So that may be one of the better crossovers. But the only other one I've got, I don't know why it's not came up here on my notes, but the only other one that I've got here is Lawrence Taylor, Big LT, when he appeared at WrestleMania to fight Bam Bam Bigelow.
Other 2 good ones I've got, Family Guy, when Peter joins the Patriots.
Right.
Tom Brady, and he gets traded to the London Silly Nannies or something.
I'm going to be really honest with you here. I hate Family Guy.
I used to watch it quite a bit, but I got bored of it, but I used to like it. But my last one was The Simpsons. Homer goes to another job, and then he comes back, and his old boss has gave him a present, bought him an NFL team.
Mate, before you go here, this is the first team I knew in the NFL because of this. Because of watching this, yes.
He looks at the door and it's the Denver Broncos that are training his front yard. He's raging.
I remember it, and it's like they're kicking the ball off the other guy's ass and all that. No, I could remember that well, and it was funny. But Lawrence Taylor against Bam Bam Bigelow is my favourite.
Who won?
I don't actually remember. I can just remember the altercation. Bam Bam Bigelow was walking past the crowd. It was when Nelty had retired for football, and they'd started like one of these on-screen spats, and then I think that was the Royal Rumble, and it led to them fighting at WrestleMania. And it was awful. The big man off the top rope with the shoulder block and all that. But no, I think, like I say, a nice short one tonight. We had the mock draft on Monday night, which was pretty heavy going. Just the two of us. That's why we didn't decide to get a guest on. And I think this is the way we'll go when it comes to the season start. We'll do a sort of review of the weekend, a longer show on a Monday night with a guest, and then myself and you will give the most amateur advice we can give on fantasy football going into the weekend every Thursday.
Aye. That's fine with me. We can give our tips, and probably none of them will be accurate, but we'll enjoy ourselves.
We'll be sure to go back and clip up the ones that luckily are, and the other million, they'll just be bound to history and never to be heard again.
Stick them in the archives.
I know, but nah, it's been good. I'll let you get back to dogging. In that car park somewhere, wherever you are.
I'm just going in for I might as well go in for a checkup while I'm here. Full body MOT.
God, no, your luck, I wouldn't.
Nah, I'll leave it.
But nah, it's been a good laugh tonight. It always is. But thanks to everybody that's stuck by us for the past 40 or so minutes. It's been a good laugh with Shug as ever. And please subscribe, please follow us. Brings us a lot of joy when we see the numbers going up, and we hope to grow this. We'll hopefully get some good news coming soon when we're trying to work things out with other folk. So yeah, we'll keep trying to bring you good content and the best fantasy advice that we can. All right, but Shug, thanks as ever, mate.
Cheers, Kieran. Enjoyed that.